Hi guys, it's Mrs. Trosvik down in House 6B. Today we are going to be working on Unit 6, Lesson 5. We are on the teacher page. Yesterday we did addition and subtraction. Today we are going to be working with multiplication and division because they are opposites. So if we are solving, or when we are solving today, we are going to use the opposite function to help us solve for the missing piece. So if we are multiplying, we might use division to help us solve. If we are dividing, we may use multiplication to help us solve for the variable. All right, let's begin with some examples. Our first example is x divided by 3 equals 5. If you don't like these symbols, you can always rewrite it as x divided by 3 equals 5 off to the side. Our first step is we're going to do the opposite and we want to get x by itself again. So we're going to multiply by 3 on both sides. Now, that leaves us with, I'm going to turn that into a dot instead of an x, otherwise my variable is going to look goofy. That leaves us with times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So it leaves me with x divided by 1 on this side of my equation. And it leaves me with 5 times 3 on this side, which equals 15. Now, x divided by 1, any number divided by 1 is going to give me that number. So realistically, x equals 15. There is a typo on this. This is not correct. This should be 15. Sorry, guys. Hopefully we have it fixed on your packets. Mine is a little wonky. All right, next one. Our next example, we have 5 times x equals 20. For this one, we are multiplying. So I'm going to rewrite it on this side. 5 times x equals 20. All right, with this one, the opposite of multiply is divide. So we are going to divide by x. What we do to one side, we're going to do to the other. X on top and x on the bottom cancel and turn into 1. So I really am left with 5 times 1 equals 20 divided by x. So 20 divided by x equals 1, or equals 5. Oh, Mrs. Trosvik just made an error. That's okay, because I can figure it. I can fix it. Well, let's go back. I took the x instead of the 5. That's my fault. Sorry, guys. Let's go back. See, teachers make errors too. In my class, they would get a treat if they caught that. They wouldn't, though, but you never know. Okay, 5 times x. Sorry, I want x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 5 this time, not x. My apologies, guys. I'm sorry I confused you. 5 over 5 is still 1. So it still would be 1 times x, but this time we can actually divide out and get our answer. 20 divided by 5 equals 4, and anytime we multiply by 1, we just get whatever the other number is. This time it's a variable, so we can just call it x equals 4. So my answer is that. Sorry, guys. All right. Next one, we have example number 2. H divided by 8 equals 4. We're going to do the opposite of divide and we multiply. As you can see, they took 8 times 8, 4 times 8. And remember, if we multiply an 8 and we divide it by 8, this actually just cancels itself out and turns into 1. So we have h divided by 1 equals 4 times 8, and 4 times 8 equals 32. H divided by 1 also equals h. So h equals 32. All right, let's skip to example number 3. We have 15 divided by x equals 3. The opposite of divide would be multiply. If I want to get x by itself, here's the tricky part. I have the number first. So I want to know what smaller number I can divide out to get a smaller number. This is where it gets a little tricky. It's kind of like the subtraction on our last problem, or on our last lesson. I apologize. So we're going to have to do multi-steps. This time, 15 is going to stay because I am dividing by x. I'm going to leave 15 and I'm going to actually multiply by x to both sides. So I want to get x on both sides of my equation. If I take x or multiply by x and divide by x, this cancels and turns into 1. So that leaves me with 15 equals 3 times x. Now, I want x by itself. So if I need to get rid of the 3, in order to get rid of it, I need to divide out 3 from both sides. This is going to turn into a 1 because it cancels itself. 3 divided by 3 equals 1. And this is going to give me 5. So this is 5 equals 1 times x. We know that 1 times x equals x. So we know that x equals 5. All right. I know this can be complicated. Remember, if the number comes first and we are dividing by the variable, it's more work and you have to move the x first and then a number to the other side. It's very similar to subtracting if we start with our first number and then subtract a variable. Example number 4. We have 3 times y equals 30. Now, if we're multiplying, we're going to do the opposite and divide, but we're not going to divide by y. We're going to divide by the number. So I'm going to get rid of the 3 on both sides. This will turn into 1 because 3 divided by 3 equals 1. That leaves me with 1 times y equals 30 divided by 3, which is 10. 1 times y equals y equals 10. Boom. All right, let's go down below. We are dividing b divided by 4. We're going to do the opposite and multiply by 4 to get b by itself. So this will cancel. This becomes b divided by 1, which really equals b. 5 times 4 equals 20. So b equals 20. If we're going to check our work, we're going to go back and put 20 in and divide by 4. If we do that, it should give us 5. So we know that we found the correct b. It has to be 20. All right, this time we have the number first. So remember, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. We want c by itself. But in order to do that, we have to divide c out first from both sides. So this, or not divide, multiply, because it's the opposite of divide. It's 12 divided by c. So we are multiplying c first. So c times divided by c times c cancels out and leaves me with 12 equals 4 times c. Now, if I want c by itself, I have to divide 4 out from both sides so that I can get c by itself. That leaves me with 12 divided by 4 equals 1 times c. 12 divided by 4 equals 3, so 3 has to equal c. Let's check it. If I were to put 3 in here, 12 divided by 3 equals 4. Yes, it does, so we did it correctly. These are probably the hardest and trickiest ones because you have to move your variable and then you have to move a number. 3, e divided by 4, not so difficult because we have our variable first again. We're going to do the opposite of divide and we're going to multiply by 4 to both sides. This one's going to cancel and turn into 1. That leaves me with e divided by 1 equals 20 times 4, which is 80. So e equals 80. Now, if I put 80 back in and I were to split it into 4 equal groups, I would have 20 in each group. All right, number 1 on the multiplication side, the opposite of multiply is divide. So we're going to use division to help us solve. If I'm multiplying by 5, I'm going to divide by 5. That leaves me with d times 1 equals 35 divided by 5, which equals 7. D times 1 is d, so d equals 7. If I were to put 7 back in and check it, 7 times 5 equals 35. F times 10, opposite of multiply is divide. We're going to divide by 10. F times 10, 10 divided by 10 equals 1, so that leaves me with f times 1 equals 150 divided by 10, which is 15. Any number times 1 is that number, so f equals 15. All right, last one. 7 times g equals 49. Ooh, we are multiplying again. And remember, multiplication doesn't matter the order, so we can still divide. We are still dividing by 7 on both sides. So 7 over 7 turns into 1 times G. 49 divided by 7 equals 7. 1 times G equals G. G equals 7. If I were to put 7 back in, 7 times 7 will give me 49. So we did it correctly. All right, my dears, go on to the student page. Follow your directions from your teacher. If you are not in school, finish the page on your own and email your teacher with any questions, and then go on to Edulastic when you are done. Good luck. Have a good day, guys.